Let's talk about how to get property values from an object, or how to set their values. And from the previous lecture, you should have an idea already. So again, let's declare a new variable. Let's call it a circle and initialize it to an empty object. And now let's add a property named radius using the dot notation and initialize it to a value of 4, say. You have already seen this kind of stuff. Also, if you want to read the value of this property, you just use it like this. We can read and write properties of an object in JavaScript as an associative array as well. For example, let's create an object named book. And now we can add a property named title as if the string title was some kind of an index of an array, like so. And we can initialize this property to some value. Similarly, we can also read the property using the same syntax. And whichever way we write the property, it's basically one and the same thing, alright? So it's just a book object with a title property. Now that we know how to get and set properties in a JavaScript object, let's see how to delete a property from an object. It's very simple. We just use the delete keyword. So we can say delete book.title. And now let's evaluate the book object. And as you can see, the title property from this object is gone. Alright. Now, deleting properties is not a very common use case for typical web development. So let's leave it here. Let's look at another thing. How to iterate over the properties of an object. Let's declare a new variable called book and assign this object to it. And the object contains a title, say A Tale of Two Cities, and author. So the author of this book is Charles Dickens. Okay. Well, author should ideally be an array because there can be more than one authors for a book. But for ease, let's keep it a single string because right now we don't know much about arrays in JavaScript. Now to iterate over each of these properties of the book object, we use what is called as the for in loop. And the way it works is we say for, then within brackets we can say var p in book, then open and close curly braces, and within the braces we can do something with the variable p. You can name p whatever you want to. I just used p as short for property. Alright. Make sure that you put a var before p to make it a local variable. Let me not jump ahead. So for now, just make sure you use var p in book rather than just p in book, which also works, but there are issues with it. Alright. So in the body of the for in loop, let's just print the value of p using console.log, which logs the value on the console. Okay. So if you can see, it logs the name of the properties. Now let's also log the value of each property. So let's first put a colon between the property name and its value. And the way to read the property value is to use the property name within square brackets. Alright. Because we have the property name held in a variable p, and we cannot use the dot notation here because if we write book.p, then JavaScript will try to search for a property named p inside the book object, which is really not the case. If you look at your variable, you can see that it also shows some additional properties. All these properties come from the object prototype, which we will discuss in the chapter on object-oriented programming in JavaScript. But you may want to use some of these. For example, the value of function returns the primitive value of an object. So if we call the value of function on the book object itself, we get the object representation. But let's say we have a variable x, which is a new number, 5. Then calling x.value of will give us the primitive value associated with the variable. Similarly, toString method gives a string representation of the object.